Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Can the soul of the creator be replicated?
It's already replicated within us. You are blind.
I just knew you were going to say that. I was going to type that answer back to him. Mr. Kesh is going to say blah, blah, blah. And sure enough. Yes, exactly. Could you expand on that a bit, perhaps? Might be a better question.
When we talk about Mitra, Mitra does not collect or did not collect the rays of every race in the universe, the best of, to create her child, her manifestation of physicality. We have to understand that all these rays came from the Creator. She collected the totality of what she loved from the best thing of the lover to create the perfection that she can feed back to the lover. Not only I take, I give back, that we are equal in loving each other. I become the source of manifestation to show your beauty. This is why, with the birth of Mitra, we see both the created and the creator within, the soul and the soul of physicality within the tangibility of all. The beauty with the presence of Mitra is not just that the human race will see her, but every race will confess to her beauty and her existence. Because they're all collected from the same, the best. She did not collect from the soul of physicality. She collected from the soul of created, the best. And this is what it is, and this is, we've been waiting for this for the time of the creation. You call it the Adam and Eve, because we could not explain to man before. And we gave it different names, Adam and Hawa, and you call it the Shirin and Farhat in different languages, and Romeo and Juliet in the others. But in essence, is giving life for the beauty, collecting the best of to show the creation of the Creator. And in so many ways, term of what we call scientific way, as I said before, is the same. And we always said, in another way, if you understand it, you go clockwise, and then you go anti-clockwise. Where did you come from? You take from the Creator, and what you get, you give back to the Creator, that you are always equal and in balance, does not matter where. This is the beauty of the creation. And it's the same at every strength. That's why wherever you go in the universe, you'll find everyone speaks about the Creator and point of balance, point of manifestation, point of confirmation of the love to give unconditionally. As you give me unconditionally, I give back to you unconditionally. For you to get back, you have to have gravity. For me to take back, I have to receive it from you to have that gravity back. As I said many times in the teaching, if you're on this side and it comes to you, you are gravitated to. When you're on this side, you are the giver, you're magnetical. But if you are the creator, you're there. What about if you are the created? It's the same, but in a different direction. But in essence, they're always in balance. I made man to the image of myself, which means I created Mitra to be me as the reflection of my own.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 620th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 11th, 2025. This is broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be your host once again in this endless series of workshops. And once again, we have the honor of having Mr. Mayran Keshe with us to talk about the knowledge of the universe and the latest from the Keshe Foundation. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As usual, as is tradition, we welcome you back, and we try collectively, all of us, to add to the knowledge knowledge of matter state, energy state, knowledge of the fields which make the universe, and we've always been too busy looking at our planet, where we were born, where we stayed, and we attach ourselves to physicality. In the world of what we call fantasy, and in the world of what we call poetry, we have an old poet which he wrote a book which is called, in a way, Conference of the Birds. His name was Attar. And later on, other cultures picked up on his book and what he spoke about, which in the English language of today, we call it the phoenix. Phoenix never existed in the history of man till Attar wrote in his fantasy book, in his poetry, about the bird which burns, and from it, from its ashes, rises a new life. In a way, we are all that phoenix, every single one of us. And then, in a way, in the book, he doesn't call it phoenix. He calls it a different name in Farsi, bird which rises from the fire. And in the history of the Egyptian and then the Greeks, they changed it, and now we know it as a Harry Potter, what we call the bird which comes up as a phoenix. But isn't that us? He wrote about the life of the man in a poetry way, as it is. We grow, and when we die, we leave the ashes behind. And from our ashes rises the soul of the man, which is the precious, where in that process we get detached from the physicality, and that soul creates a new dimension, which now, with the knowledge we understand, is the seed for another cycle of creation, a new life in the depth of the universe. But what happens when the soul of the man and what we call the physicality of the man, at the point of death, how do they separate? It's very simple. And if you, as knowledge seekers, understand next 5-10 minutes of the teaching, you will understand how to transmute and how change. You don't need to die. You don't need to burn that body for it not to be there, to start this journey of without physicality, to manifest yourself in the dimension of the energy and the soul. But wherever that soul goes, in interaction with this environment, somewhere in the universe, it will manifest itself. Doesn't matter how much steam you make in the room, till that steam, that vapor, does not hit the coldness of the mirror, the coldness of the window, which is cold outside, will not manifest itself as a drop of water. And this is exactly what is the soul of the man. When we separate, when that position of the phoenix takes place, that we leave the ashes behind, we leave the physicality behind, then the soul of the man takes the flight of fancy. And where it comes to the point of field balance, it will manifest itself, and that will be its position. The window is huge, and it depends which drop is yours, because there are many drops on that window. When the vapor, when the steam in the room hits that window, which drop is yours? And which drop is the soul of the other phoenixes, not only of this planet, but the universe, which they were created, and they have a balance field, as we heard in the intro, between the gravitational and magnetical, giving and taking. This is where my home is. I'm not a drop on the top left-hand corner of the glass or at the bottom of, I'm somewhere in the middle. I could be to the left, I could be at the bottom. But this is where the feels, the coldness of the window allows me to manifest myself as that drop. That drop is your soul, and the window is the span of the universe, where your magnetic gravitational field, which you created, you nourished, you grow on this planet, dictated to be in that position. In a way, the pot in the middle, which creates that vapor, is your phoenix, is your body, is the ash. And when you became that vapor and fly, the flight of fancy, you could be anywhere in the room, but you never manifest yourself. You, as part of the air, you're lost because you did not create a condition to be able to manifest. Very few drops become that drop on that glass. The rest of the room is full of vapors, souls which are no destination, looking for a place, a time to manifest themselves. And then when you see those drops getting stronger, absorbing more moisture from inside, they start floating down. They become part of the bigger condition, bigger material. But the biggest point for you to understand is that at the point of burn, at the point of separation, what decides that part of the energy, part of the field of the soul of the man becomes part of that vapor, and what decides will become part of that ash. This is the point that you as knowledge seekers, if you understand that you never come to the point of the ash, but you still have the combination of cycle of emotion and feeling, then you know to separate the two, carry one inside the other, that when you hit the wall, you can become a drop. You manifest yourself again. You are water in the pot, vaporized. You became to the point of phoenix in resurrection, and then at the point of the glass, you manifest yourself, but you're still that drop. You were that drop in the pot, and now you're a drop on the window. Evaporation, separation from the physicality of totality has brought you to that point. In a way, Attar knew, if you read his poetry, if you read the book, what they call, what is known, if you get a chance, then you understand in truth what it means when he wrote this book, The Conference of Birds. Those birds are us. But each one of us goes into that cycle, goes into understanding of it. He understood, but in a way framed the soul of the man as the bird which flies and manifests itself. Then it comes a question. Would that bird find matching fields on this planet again in the direction of magnetic field of itself? Or due to the connection to the ash, which is, again, we understand nowadays is another magnetic field itself. We call it nanomaterial, if you like to call it, connected to the soul. But what decides to be the soul of the ash left behind, and what decides to be the soul which becomes a flight of fancy of the energies which take into the horizon of the universe? But this brings a very deep, deep question, but one day man has to answer. If we say, I made man in the image of myself, and now we understand the separation of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality, and the physicality of the man, which is the ash, if we are made in the image of him, does he go through the same cycle? And then where does his soul finds manifestation? This is not theology. This is understanding the process of creation. This is understanding the dimension of field interaction. This is understanding scientifically what means to be part of, to be created from, and to return back to what created you. But what created you suffers from the same condition as you. Then this brings back the question of the unicos. Where is that God that our God is part of? Our creator is created, otherwise he wouldn't be the creator. There is no, you cannot have a child when there is no father. You cannot grow a child if there was in the womb of the mother. We call it the womb of the universe. There is a womb of the unicos. And in that proportion, it comes to the one point. We go back to the macro to understand the micro, and vice versa. If we become that ash in the dimension of physicality, and our soul becomes the new bird which takes the flight of fancy, then it comes to question who, what, and what condition decides that you become the field forces of the ash, and what decides you become the field forces of the soul, the bird of the flight. If we look at this process, and if you understand this process very clearly, you knowledge seekers, knowing that the only connection between the soul of the man and the physicality and the soul of physicality is the emotion, is which emotion you use, how you use the dimension of the field of emotion to transmute in the dimension of the fields that it leads to manifestation and transmutation in either direction, the fields or the matter. But what is interesting, which man has to answer, man shall see, is that on earth we leave the body behind. The cells of the body of the man and everything which is within the skin of the man stays behind. How the decision is made, what is the systematical system that separates what becomes part of the soul and what becomes part of physicality? And then, if you understand, you can carry that physicality using the soul, then you all can transmute. The reason you die and your body stays on this planet or anywhere in the universe is because the part of the field of the cells of the body of the man, which are connected to the calcium, which is the inertia absorption of this planet, stays behind. There is not a single cell on the body of the man at the point of its conception, as it's created, without the calcium. So we have a reference point. We know if we can understand, replicate the inertia of the calcium, we can take the physicality with us. Because it still carries the emotion. In a way, the essence of the creation, that every single living thing on this planet is connected to, is the presence, combination of the metals, semi-metals, any kind of matter state inertia. And if in the dimension of emotion, you can create what we call central inertial mass connection to this planet or any other planet, you'll be moving on. You can transmute. As long as you stay within the structure of the gravitational field of the earth, you can manifest yourself as a man, unless you change the emotion. And many have managed to do this. Then you can transmute. Then you become that bird which never leaves the ash behind, because instead of the inertia of this planet to hold on to the physicality, you create that mass energy field we call the inertial field forces of matter state into dimension of the transmutation. Then every single one of you can instantaneously transmute. When you come to another planet, when you come to another dimension, when you come to another field force, the body of the man with the lung, with eyes, is no good. You're handicapped. You won't even be able to manifest. But because you have the replication of the fields of the emotion of the physicality that I need a system for me to take energy from the environment, I need to create an inertial balance that I can manifest myself in that area as an entity. I need a system to store the energy, and I need a system to be able to make me mobile. You'll manifest in that position on Mars, Moon, or any position in the universe in the shape of the body, in the shape of physicality that allows you to sustain life, which means to be part of, which means not a rock on the planet Moon, but entity which can move, live, enjoy the condition and be part of. In a way, the inertia of the position in respect to what you carried, that you did not leave the ashes of the phoenix behind, dictates the manifestation of physicality of the man. There is an assumption that this process has been done before by men of this planet through knowledge, understanding what we call transmutation of the soul of the man, but carrying the physicality in a way within the structure of the physicality of the soul. You create a mini environment, a mini structure environment which matches the environment of the amino acid and the calcium dimension inertia of the mass. Then you transmute. Then, in a way, you cocoon the ash with you on your backpack inside you. Is the energy has no dimension and only manifests itself at a point of the balance or condition of the emotion to what it is. You've seen in Beijing, we produce different materials. You took the spoons of it, and as I said before, most of the spoons are empty. Somebody said that this is the bits. If it was any bits, after 6 months, you should have had something in your spoons. Because we create the energy mass. We create the dimensional fields of what I call emotion of inertia. I deliberately gave the spoons, 100 spoons or so was given to people around China, and some of those who came to see the conference. And now those spoons with matter state are empty. If it was matter, it would have been still in the spoon. This is a condition of cosmic rays. This is a condition of connection to the field of the universe. This is why those who produce gold, they cannot sell, they cannot give it confirmation of the clarity of the matter state. This is why life is in a dimension of plasmatic energy as gas, and why you, as every single entity, as the phoenixes of your life, will decide in time the energy fields of your soul, what kind of physicality will create in the universe as you carry the inertia interaction with the environment of manifestation. One question to ask is that if we look in the dimension of gravitational magnetic field of the earth, the way we see human body, having a slightly different emotion and a slightly different combination of the fields, we become cats, dogs, trees, and whatever the fish, because the environment decides how gravitational magnetical of the inertia of the soul manifests itself. Then it goes back to the question of a few minutes ago. I made man in the image of myself. Man can resurrect. Man can become from the ashes to the direction of phoenix, to be that energy, that free bird. What happens to the creator in the environment of the created universe? Don't forget, we are part of that drop, because he is the totality of that drop. But now the condition is not a pot, is the window, a new dimension, a universe where it brings all the dots together. This is for you to understand, knowledge seekers. Understand what gravitational magnetic field you have to create within the soul of the man to, in a way, replace gravitational magnetic field inertia of the planet that you can transmute. But don't forget, it's all connected to the emotion, which has a specific magnetic field strength. It has a specific resonance. It has a specific dimension and direction. In a way, within the soul of the man, when you want to transmute in the emotion of, I want to carry the physicality, I love what I have. And as long as I live on this planet, I want his fingerprint. Then you understand how man can transmute. I made man in the image of myself. So I have given man every possibility, every opportunity, every attribute which is within me to the man. As Muhammad said, blessed his name. In the Quran, there are 99 written attributes, beauties of the creator in dimension of physicality of this planet, which most of it and all of it connected to the emotion of interaction. And when you read all 99 and understand it, then you have reached the 100, which is a totality, which is that 100 is a creator. Now, a lot of you have been battling to transmute. Go back to the teaching of some time ago, where I showed you how you hold your hand to create that light. Now that your knowledge has reached a point, put that hand together again and see if you can create that light. Share emotion with that light and watch the creation of the ashes. If you understood that emotion of how to transfer energy of the light into the ash in your hand, or the dust in your hand, or the gold in your hand, you have then learned how to transmute. And the key word is not I want. will be a pleasure to see that I can give. Then, if you understood that, you transfer that energy because now you practice it, how to transfer that light into matter. You do that with your own soul, but with the dimension of emotion, with a detachment to be attached to the physicality, but for it to be a guest for me to carry the beauty. I made man in the image of myself, in every shape, dimension, and direction and emotion. And there is no exclusivity. Every living thing in the universe has all the attributes of the Creator. It is the man who decides which suits him and which is the dimension that he wants to live in. He wants to manifest himself in. Jealousy, darkness, evilness, happiness, fairness. It's all a decision which the man makes. And if you can make that decision in the dimension of the emotion, you can make a decision on the emotion of transmutation. And many have done because they understood the field strength of. They understood in a way what is needed to be done. They understood the concept of plasma, they understood the concept of matter state, they understood the concept of emotion, they understand the dimension of time. Now, if you go over all the teachings of past, especially 6 months, 12 months, and understood what I said today, there is no reason for you not to be able to transmute. There is one factor which sits in the subconscious of the physicality of the man, and is called fear. And that's the only thing, as I've said before, which is holding you back. That fear energy does not allow the inertial magnetic field, the strength, to be created within the inside of the soul of the man in the dimension of energy, that it can manifest itself anywhere in another dimension. But your biggest problem is not that fear of going back. Once you become the dimension of energy, the same fear exists. What happened? I enjoyed the beauty of the universe without physicality. If I go back to the dimension of physicality and I get imprisoned by the physicality of the man, like in the brain of the man, as we know, then man has to understand the fear exists on both direction and dimension. And it's not exclusivity of the present time. Trust in yourself. Trust in being able to manifest this dimension of physicality. It's part of the structure you have to teach yourself. In a way, we've seen that in the world of man many times. Concentration of the energy that the body goes through a pre-transmutation, but due not understanding the process, man will go backwards into the dimension of coming back to be in the dimension of physicality. You have to understand how to transfer that energy, and you have to understand how to direct it dimensionally to be in that mode. Let me explain to you something very, very simple, that if you're a physician, if you're doctors, or you check in the future, you can see the correctness of what I to explain. Some of you drink alcohol to become legless and don't remember anything. The dimension of emotion of the fields of the alcohol, because of the nitrogen connection, separates your physicality in a dimension. We call you drunk. totally out of your head. But when the energy extra brought in, released, you become conscious, no problem, and you go. It's like a Russian roulette. In Moscow, if they find you drunk, they put you in the prison. There's no court hearing because there's half of the city drunk, so they keep you in there. And when the alcohol wears off, they leave you on the street. This is what you got to do. If you understand it. But we have another dimension which is controlled by man. Many cases of what we call epilepsy is created by the person itself. And they do it because it's like not addiction, but in a way of forgetting in the dimension of. They separate the physicality from the inertial field forces of the soul, and then you get the shaken bottles and the rest of it on the floor. But how do they do it? Many people, many of those who have epileptic attack, they learn how to do it. But at the point of creating so much information, the physicality takes over instead of diverting the energy into the soul to create the separation and transmutation. If you look at the back of the throat, as I've said this before in some teachings, of a person with epilepsy, which comes on the process of addiction, except some epilepsies are due misfunction of the brain, a large majority of the people who create epileptic attacks for themselves have a habit of, in a way, sucking on the back of the little tongue in the back of the throat. Needs a lot of concentration, needs a lot of intention, needs a lot of knowing how to handle this energy. And when it gets to a point that the emotion, direction of the wanting, bringing, leads to massive amount of information, which is as the energy sits within the brain of the man, and the clicking clock of the brain cannot handle, so the energy has to be stepped out of the brain in the steps, and then as the energy cannot be added to the soul, we see the shaking and the vomiting and every other thing we see with the epileptic attack. In a way, they have learned how to concentrate this energy, which then it goes through the spinal cord with a valve on the top with limitation of the leakage, but they cannot add the energy to the soul that creates transmutation. Every time you see an epileptic attack, every shake you see is scientific, as I explained before in other teachings, well understood. The top of the brain, at the connection of the main brain, has a little valve, which is size of a pinhead, which controls the energy transfer from the brain into the body of the man. Otherwise, you're shaking and dripping everywhere. There's a little valve. And when it's needed, it just changes polarity and allows so much to go through, and then it shuts. And every time you see a shock, it's like, have you seen you got a hose in your hand and you stop, you block it, and you see the shake goes off the pump and you hear the tap going click? That's exactly what people with epilepsy do. Majority of them who have epilepsy on demand, because they know what to do. And they know how to release the energy of the brain that they know how they lose control of, and then it becomes the shakes and everything else. If you understood this and you understood how epileptic energies are created through the interaction of the field of the man itself in majority of the cases, which then it becomes fake, is exactly what you need to do to create energy that in conjunction with the soul of the man become a passenger of space. But don't forget, you have a very big problem. Your problem is how to release the energy that it leads to manifestation. And the manifestation you like, that you're given in a dimension of environment you know nothing of. In a way, waiting for that day of judgment of me with my creator on the table, it's me who's going to lose, because I have not understood the process, and very much like a epileptic guy, I lost the control of. If you manage, instead of letting that energy of the epileptic attack to go through your spinal cord, but to go dimension of the center of the brain, all of you can transmute. When you ask epileptic attack condition enforce those people who can actually do the transmutation much easier than the rest of you, you see the little thing dangling on the back of the throat very long. Very, very long. If the height of that little dangly thing in the back of your mouth is 1 centimeter, in a epileptic attacks, continuous, non-reversal, you see it is literally sitting in the middle of the throat. But if the people with epilepsy put an emotion into it and a dimension, for sure that physicality will manifest itself. Usually controlled by pain in the physical life of the man, and then abandonment. Transmute, but we don't know where we are. Create condition, and that condition forces what we call transmutation. In an accident, in one of the laboratories of the Keshe Foundation, we've seen this. Due to change, we're creating condition of transmutation. Accident, no accident, cracking of the glass of the fish tank. We have lost many of our fishes, but we can't find them anywhere. There is no carcass, there is no left. But these fishes were trained, these fishes were created a condition of transmutation in the fields. So when that steam in the back changed, cold changed to warm, there is no more steam on the mirror, the fishes have gone. We are not talking about 1 or 2. We have no leftover. We have no cats. We have nothing that will explain the whereabouts and how these fishes do this. So we change the environment. Don't forget, the year before, we had one jumping from a fish tank to another tank, which wasn't supposed to be there. One thing will be very interesting, and is part of the discussion of today. According to what is supposed to happen on the 19th of December with the 3i, would and if this enormous energy pack changes magnetic field of this planet, would many of us die because the field energy has changed? Or you become another, what we call jack in the box of the visitors. Think about the teaching of today. Understand it, apply it, and you all reach transmutation. You have to go through these phases before the final phase of transmutation, understanding exactly what you're doing. As Indians say, Nim Hakim Khatar Jan, half doctor is danger to life. If you do half of it, you lose a soul, so you cannot be damaging anything or yourself, but to understand the process. We go for a break and we come back. And I hope you, as knowledge seekers, understood the essence of the teaching of today. Break.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you. All right. As Mr. Kesh mentioned, we'll have a break. And in the second part, there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions. I'll remind our attendees here that there's a function in the Zoom that you can raise your virtual hand. Then we can acknowledge you and allow your microphone to open if you would like to ask a question. And also we have the chat and the Q&A for writing down questions. And questions can be put in the YouTube as well. Okay, I was going to play an excerpt about the Christmas pack that's being presented in the Kesh Foundation store this year. It's about 5 minutes, and that'll be our halftime break here. We'll be back shortly. Forgive me, there'll be a slight delay while I get out the jumper cables and restart that video. Just bear with me a few moments here. Nope. Okay, I think we have it lined up here now.
The reason we promoted these is just that the ganses used in these structures are specific for peace and balance of soul. And we would like for those of you who receive it, use it as decoration as you do with lights or whatever on your Christmas tree. Observe the changes in your family and even yourself in how these bring changes by the end of the festival season. How when these are sold as a package, you give one to one member of family and now to the other, you put one in one side of the house or to the other, and see how your connection changes with the people who you give a gift to and or within the household. Because you put the Christmas trees away, you put the decoration away. These are ornaments that can sit anywhere around the house. And then it can bring the change in the household. In a way, in every essence of it, you bring a change. There is a very limited number of 2 games which we have especially put into this series. One is a chess game, which is the game of war, to win, to kill. But we brought in the ingredients of the material, this is the picture you see now, the essence of peace and balance. In a way, I wonder those of you who hold this, you play with this, would you find another dimension to this game where you don't need to kill, to destroy? When this was proposed, I thought about it, and the composition in this is very precise. That would you go and play with this game, and what happened to it, to your emotion? Would you keep it as a decoration because it makes a peace with you and balance of peace with you when you hold this, what we call figures in your hand, and the table? The table is transparent, which allows the field dimension of the yin and yang, South Pole and North Pole, and it's deliberately made that way. And it's very interesting how, for example, there's another game with a backgammon, which you might see the same position. Would you change in the dimension as you hold this? You transfer different energy, different position in interaction of different fields. Go back to what I call the man who made this board game. The king asked, what do you need for such a thing? He said, put 1 grain of rice in the first square and then double it to the next one. And then that'll be the totality you can give me as a gift. And when they calculated and put all of the number of grains of rice, which came by multiplication of it, there was not enough grains in the, what we call kingdom, to give to the man. Now imagine every single one of these, plus the, what we call the pattern of the field of interaction, creates such a diversity of the fields that in a way fulfills every energy of the man needed. I would like to know, those of you who get this board, how it'll change you, how you feel every time you touch one. And would it take you to the step to kill? It's the challenge of the soul. And this is why this year we went this way. And everything, even if you see those pendulum hanging, they're all filled with different field energies of the, what we call peace, and the balance of the soul of the man and energy the man needs. Very interesting to see the outcome, how you as knowledge seekers will look at the, what we call, or feel after having these around you for 12 days. And even if you put it in a box in the house, it's still in different places, you create that environment in the house till next year. This is exactly what the communication unit with the plasmatic fields will do with the special antennas which gets added to it. But this time it's not the Christmas tree, it's the whole planet which will bring change to. Carry on, it's very interesting. Ornaments with a purpose, touching the soul of the man and man's emotion, which has never been done before.
All right, back again at our 620th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 11th, 2025. And as I mentioned, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Kesh. But first, he will have something to say, if not several things to say about the current issues and whatnot. So please go ahead, Mr. Kesh, if you're there.
Yes, thank you very much. As
You have seen these, what we call Christmas packages. Very unusual for the Keshe Foundation. All the orders for this materials has completed, and in so many ways, there is no orders outstanding. But there are a few other pieces which are mass-produced and are there. And then, immediately after New Year, the Keshe Foundation has done a series for Valentine in the rhythm of our, what's called Text of Valentine, and for Easter. Those products are already produced. So it's a limited when they release it. And this time it's not the packages, it's individual items as it's sold, it will not be there. But again, it carries all essences of and what we might apply. There's one thing that we have explained before. I put this out last week slightly and this week. Those of you who bought Obisos, you received the first half in the conferences, or some of you received part of it. The second part is released, or the most advanced part of the what we call Obisos, which is the new version, is released. It's going to be delivered, and step by step, it's a very complicated system. And the first 5 will leave hopefully before Christmas, and the balance will go into next year, and you will receive it. Please understand, these will be invoiced, and you have to clear customs with it as part of the structure. You can use this with the initial systems we gave you, or use this on their own. It's very, very advanced, what we call the Obisos, and they are not, if the packaging might look or something you've seen before, but internally they're extremely advanced. And they should be with it coming up 2 pieces, hopefully, that you can position anywhere in the body for whatever purpose you want. So please be ready. You have to clear custom these once it's delivered to you, and you are subject to all the what we call dimensions of the what we call the importing goods at the prices you paid, you whatever duty they ask you to pay or whatever is with you. We have to put it through the customs, because the last time we gave it to you in the conferences, this time has to be registered as the goods has left, which have taken what do you call it, as we said in our agreement with you, any update in technology which applies to it will come, and after 2 years this is an upgrade version and needs to be delivered. So please be prepared, those of you who bought Obisos, for the delivery of these systems. You get a call from the tax and you have to complete it, and the rest of it to be accepted. Otherwise, it'll be sent back to us, and they're no use to us because it's locked into the system for you. Is there any questions? We try to answer.
Okay, thank you. Let me see here. We have a question from Stefania, I think that's appropriate. And this question also came up, I think, in the last plasma reactor group as well. It's the idea about emotion and feeling. So the question is, what is the difference between feeling and emotions? And is the emotion, is it the emotion that makes the feeling, or is it the feeling that makes the emotion? So can you clarify?
This is, in a way, they are both the same, but if you go to the English language as emotion, it means something which created from in reaction to movement of something. This is what we look at it as an English language. But emotion, what happens physically to you, creates a feeling, and that sometimes feeling creates the emotion that is in a way the creator of the other. Feeling is connected with the dimension of physical life, and emotion is dimension of energy side. You have to feel the cold, you have to feel the touch, you have to feel the energies of hate. Or do we feel the emotion of hate? Do we feel the emotion of the being in danger? And does being in danger create the emotion of being unsafe? So we have to understand which comes from which direction and how at that point they're connected. We create emotion with the soul, which has no dimension to physicality. It's connected to the other dimension of soul of a lower order. So feeling, because we feel it, we don't feel a touch with our soul. This has a dimension of physicality and emotion to it, that in a way, energy leads to response of the what we call the total physicality in that dimension. A few years ago, quite a few years ago, I met a young girl in her early 20s, mid 20s. She had cancer of thyroid. They did a normal procedure for the cancer, and she was very much dependent on taking tablets to go to sleep and not to fall asleep for a long time. So her life is controlled by tablets, how much she sleeps. This girl sat across me, and I asked simply a directive. Those of you who've been with me know me. I don't beat about the bush when I want to know something. I said, you're young, and this cancer cannot be at your age. Have you been raped? And you could not defend yourself. She burst into tears. He said, how do you know? I said, you have created emotion because you could not shout, you could not make a noise, you could not do anything. You blame yourself for that. So this physical act of feeling being raped has brought the emotion of death, not failing. It was done on one of the campuses in the United States, which is supposed to be the worst place you can ever educate yourself. And I sat in front of her and I explained the emotion that this is not your fault. There's nothing you can do because the guy put the hands on her throat. 12 o'clock at night, she was going from one hall of residence to another, and she was targeted by the students. As you know, in America, is very common. Killing and raping is a backbone of the education system of the United States. And it took me about a week on a continuous discussion. She would not finish her education because she saw no purpose to be alive, no purpose to be. The emotion of living and the joy of becoming a doctor was not there anymore. She understood that the feeling of shame, not being protecting herself, brought the emotion of everything else which goes with it. When she understood, she does not need to create that emotion of failure, and is nothing she could do with it. She went back to the United States. She finished her degree. She became a doctor, psychologist. And now she practices. The strangest thing she practices, because she has felt this, she knows how failure and other thing comes. She's one of the elite doctors who handles only the top brokers in the American stock market and the top senior managements in American business. Anyone in the stock market and in high level, Microsoft or whoever, hits the bottom, which many they do, she's the last post. I was talking to her a few weeks ago, and she said, "Do you know something? I learned a lot from you. The difference between the emotion and a feeling. I felt the shame, but the emotion was mine to carry on. You taught me how to do it." Now, a girl, if we don't come and don't understand this in one, she would have been lost, most probably with secondary cancer and the rest of it. 20 years down the line, anybody hits the pot in the high pressure life in New York Stock Exchange, top management of top companies in US end up on her desk. Because she knows what failure means, she knows how to guide them, and knows what emotion creates. Then we have to understand this. What leads to what emotion or feeling we feel that creates an emotion, how we can separate it, but use it to our advantage. Use it to understand our weakness and understand the process. And this is part of your understanding of yourself. What led to this emotion? And as energy, feeling is an energy which we feel in respect to our physicality, creates the understanding or transfer at the level of the given emotion. And our body is geared up for these kind of emotions and how to judge, how to balance. We have a shy line just between the fold of a leg and the stomach. This is the line we have created, our body has created, that no one can cross. If a man touches you at that point, you slap it in the face, because it created the wrong feeling and the emotion which came up with the slap. But you allow your husband, your boyfriend, to cross it anytime you make love. Because we decide the same feeling, what emotion it creates. We are in charge of that emotion. And once we understand these little nitty-gritties about dimension of the soul, physicality and emotion, we can do a lot of things. We can ignore it, become numb to it, or we can, what you call, make the best of it to what makes us to live, to be part of a society, a life. And I can give you many, many examples like this, how we exchange feeling, ignore feeling, and with it don't create emotion, but for some people, we create that emotion because we want to be human and still feel. I had the experience sitting in front of a woman who more or less became a prostitute. And she had a husband, truck driver at home. I asked her, how do you make a difference? He said, when he touches me, it brings me joy. It gives me a different feeling. The rest does nothing. Physicality doesn't count. I have no emotion, no feeling. And so we have learned to categorize. We have learned to control emotion. We have learned how and where feelings create what emotion according to our secondary, what we call standard. As we say in English, what is good for the geese is not necessarily good for the gander. Because it could be gander has got nothing to do with the geese and he has a different dimension and emotion. We do this, we are aware of it. The feeling can change according to the level we set. Then you have to understand how feelings are created, and then you have to understand how emotions are created and where triggers what to another, what creates emotion. So we are in control of it. But feel, soul have no feeling. Soul react to emotion. It's physicality which creates that feeling. And then emotions created from it. Does not need to be touch, sound, eye, everything gives a feeling that creates the emotion. Conversion of the matter state to energy. Any other questions?
Stefania goes on to ask, can you train a person to use the little tongue to direct transmutation in the moment when that person's about to have an epileptic fit?
Don't do it, don't touch it. It's very, very delicate. You enter the world of unknown if you do not know what to do with it, and it's a lot of literature on this, and the one of the first things some of the doctors, specialists in epilepsy, do with their patients, they ask them to open the mouth. They think what epilepsy has to do with the mouth. You see dangling, then you know is initiated. If not, then you use to see how they do it. They create so much information that the body cannot handle. In a way, the information that comes from emotion. And some of actually those who get to this position of using the bit in the back of the tongue, which tangles down, go to vomiting and convulsion. It's like you're putting a finger in your mouth. But that depends, again, when you observe them, is that to the extension of the emotion when you do it, or because you create so much energy that it has to be released in pulses to the gates of the brain, to the spinal cord. It creates like being in a, what you call, roller coaster. And then that comes through the neurosystem, through the front part of the body, which is like a normal vomiting and the convulsion we see. If you watch the convulsion, then you see which way it comes, and then you know. I observed many of these cases, so know exactly what to look for and to create it. Some of it is fake, and some of it comes from psychological pressure. To create it, you don't need necessarily physicality to do it. Some people create it with fear, and they build this fear up, and then they can't control it. By that time, the energy in the brain, so much information is gathered that it needs to go somewhere. Brain cannot handle it. So we see sometimes in a brain stroke like this, or these people learn how to do it, and then there is a gate. It's this gate in top of the brain where you connect to your brain, and the spinal cord is like a valve. It has a capacity, let's say, of 1 terabyte per second, but the brain has produced 10 terabytes. And there's nowhere to go because you haven't learned to divert that and that energy to your soul in the central position, which is a technique to do it. And then you can transmute because the energy goes, the soul expands beyond the physicality. That's how most of these gurus do these kind of things, because they direct into direction of soul, it goes and they can fly because then they create position. But those who cannot do, they don't understand that part. The brain has 10 terabytes. Each pulse cannot be more than 1 terabyte. So it opens up, releases the energy. So the energy has no destination. So all the legs, all the part of the body shakes because they got to get rid of this energy, closes. Second one is charged for the second one. Then you see 10 shakes of the body. And watching the process of these people tells you how much they're in control of. It comes usually through attention seeking at a very young age. Fathers who are abusive to the children, and the child doesn't want to be, doesn't not sexually, is verbally or whatever, but the child is looking for attention. At the time when she is in that condition, father can't abuse. So it becomes a way you cuddle, you kiss, you hold it, you cry it, and your subconscious are aware of the attention. You did that, I can do this, I still get my attention. Raising children and for them to get to a point is an art which are not taught. We teach our children in the schools how to use condoms and contraceptives. We don't teach our children how to be parents and to be there. This is the biggest problem for man, and then all these psychological problems comes after. You're more inclined to teach about the maths and physics than the psychology of life that bring perfect parents for the future. Because our teachers are ignorant with themselves, how can you expect them to teach what they do not?
Mr. Costefania had a further question. Is there a correlation with the full moon and epileptic fit?
There's a correlation between the chips and fish in England for you. And it was made up.
Okay.
I know. I think I explained to you. We had a case years ago in Belgium. The girl didn't want to have a relationship with her husband, so she created fake epileptic attacks. Every time the guy wanted to come close, because he knew he was unfaithful. Made up. In English, you say, I have a headache, when I'm washing my hair. Some people create a fake epileptic. And you have to watch. These things are very, very careful things. Needs a physician. We see epileptic attack. Why we studied this, you have to understand, it's not for medical or for you having the extension of the energy, as we spoke in the space technology of the past, where I was involved, and then it was done by a professor in Washington University for NASA, introducing first nanotechnologies for fields which enter the eye, and the astronauts see flash in their eyes. You have to understand, if you can see those flashes in the eye, there is massive amounts of cosmic ray energy which enters the brain and creates exactly what I explained to you. 10 terabytes where the brain can handle one leads to the epileptic attack with astronauts. We had to study it. You can't put it on the blanket. So we have to understand how it's done, the way it's done, how it can be handled. And if you understand how to teach a pilot, an astronaut, or future passengers of the space. When you go to space, you create a subconscious channel to feed the energy to central part, which is your soul. You get no problem. But if you don't, you get a brain hemorrhage, you get an epileptic attack, and the rest. We studied this in detail and see the effect of the epilepsy on the brain, the effect of epilepsy on energy, extra energy. And these things have to be understood. And this is part of becoming a multinational space program belongs to every nation. This is part of the structure. I'm doing a lot of groundwork for your future generations to enjoy the safe space position travel, even for your soul. You have to be able to control the energies which you travel through, even in the dimension of the soul, because you have emotion, you're aware of it. And all these had to be studied. We didn't do it just for doing a test to prove. We need to understand how is done. What's the reason? Well, now we see many Chinese, Russian, American long stay in what we call the station. You don't see them in the front. In the back door, after they disappear from that, coming off the aircraft and clip it close, and they end up mentally demented because the energy absorption from cosmic ray into the brain is so huge. Behavioral change, body change. It's not just the brain, the cell, the heart, everything, the strength of the change in emotion in the brain, all changes. You are a soft target with a good dimension of the plasma called the brain. Now you get hit. If we see so many flashes in the eye of the astronauts, which we know that, how much and what other higher energy gets absorbed by the brain and he has to handle it. The agencies don't want to handle. We handle because we have to. Man is busy with, maybe runs the rays of the sun. We are busy with the rays of the universe. And a man is a soft target for this. Any other question?
You see, Andrew asks, can you ask, is it the same when you have a seizure? My first was 4 years ago, and I remember looking down from the ceiling at my body shaking on the floor. This only happened the first one.
Again, you have to understand how the seizure was done. What's the purpose? What caused it? Emotional, physical, long-term physical, that you tap it and tap it till it comes, yes. And then you go to a position of body there, but the soul moves, but I'm not going without it, so I just watch it till it comes back and I go back to the cage again. I know many knowledge seekers which do this. I know how it's done because I used to do it when I was 8, 9 years, 10 years old. I became a very good flyer. I became an expert in it. I didn't need it. I just go, Mom, I'm going to bed. Are you asleep? Yes. Just go to different rooms in the house, go to different high and low. And you teach yourself, you train yourself. Sometimes you come and pinch the body, say, if it's there, it's mine. But what is he doing there? I don't know, but I can go somewhere else, do something else. Done that when I was very young. Any other question?
I get a question in our chat here, Mr. Kesh, but there's emotions of the physicality. Where does it fit? If emotions is attributed to energy and feelings to physicality.
Physicality to feel it is still again emotion. It has a magnetic field in motion which creates that physicality, that feeling. The problem with you knowledge seekers is that you continuously made a pigeonhole and it has to be in that pigeonhole. Yes, it has a pigeonhole, but it has no wall in between. And if you understand that, open your eyes to the process of the creation. There is no restriction, there is no limitation, and there is no cage. If you can cage the sun, you can cage the soul of the man. It's the soul which have decided to give itself physical manifestation. I sit here and I do and I watch. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up here with Carl. Please go ahead, Carl.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. Carl here in Central Victoria, Australia.
We love your Australian accent. How are the kangaroos there?
I'm standing on my balcony looking out at the sunset. I can't see any at the moment, but often there's 20 odd on our property hopping through. We've had an echidna circling our house the last few days, so that's been a new perspective.
What? Can you repeat?
An echidna. They're like a porcupine, but an Australian marsupial.
Ah, okay.
So my question relates to the epilepsy topic. There's a concept called non-epileptic fits under a functional neurological disorder. It's one of the new kind of hidden illnesses that seems to have evolved over the last decade or so. Just wondering whether you knew of anything there. It's electrical activity, but it's non-damaging to the brain, these types of seizures.
I don't know anything about it, but that is quite possible. Don't know, but we've seen this. There's a lot of activities in the brain. There are a lot of things in the world of medicine that are created due to new medicine or are created with the new contaminations. And so these create new conditions we had no name for, now they try to name it. We see a lot of pain, a lot of strokes with contamination with aluminium, which the doctors go there and says, they test their blood and they test their brain. But when you go deep into it, I had to do this very recently to understand with a case. And I just asked a simple question. And it answered the whole thing and the whole process. The doctors stopped because there was nobody ever asked this question. And usually when you ask a question, because we look at things in a different way, I asked a simple question. I said, what did you do at work? I did this. I said, did you do anything else or as a hobby? Oh yes, at the office, in the work, we had to use chemicals like killing funguses, and I was one of the team of 3 or 4 people, and I did it for 20 years. I said, can I have the list of what you were spraying? Yes. Got the list, aluminium. Question answered. Creating high level of metals, headaches, shortage, convulsion, aluminum contamination. But a lot of it started with just like epileptic, like not being able to walk, couldn't go up the stairs, like a small seizures. And we are all now are touched by these contaminations. And yes, it's quite possible, but depends when these energies concentrate, increase, and go. You're a pilot. Have you ever thought how much energy you absorb in that cockpit at high altitude? Have you ever sat and considered how much comes in? I'm a passenger, I fly 10 hours a year, that's it. A pilot sits there so many hours all the time, as worse than being an astronaut. What energies we get absorbed? They don't land aircrafts because of the high sun flares and high energies. They're still up there flying, day in, day out. And what other things happens if you absorb these energies? Nothing. It creates internal energy and your body has learned somewhere to connect it to. We have to look at the way we structure our lives and what is involved in our environment we are sitting. Quite possible. You don't see, but there are signs of high energies because what we do.
I love that.
Pardon?
Sorry. I love that you're working on microplastics. That's a new environmental factor. I don't know if I've heard you talk much about Wi-Fi and the electromagnetic spectrum. What's happening up there?
Watch this space. We have developed a technology through cosmic rays, which we don't need Wi-Fi. This technology is very, very interesting, where we use true cosmic rays because we produce condition of cosmic rays in our systems. Wi-Fi don't exist. And these rays are in a plasmatic condition, so they don't interact. They're part of their own spectrum. You can pick up emotions from them, you can pick up knowledge from them, but what you need, you take. Is not forced in by convention of matter state. It's a different way of communication. And this is part of the system. We connect. It's part of the system. When you receive these, what you call ONNs, are going to be part of. No damage to the users, no interaction with the physical body, but you can take energy what you need from it. So you have a headache, we continuously deliver what I call plasma aspirin or paracetamol, and your body needs it, it takes it. Very recently, we had a case. There's a new kind of flu which is affecting many, many people. And high temperature, very, very high temperature. And just using the new technology, within 3 hours, no sign of temperature. And the doctors, even in the airport, tested the child. Shows every symptoms of the latest type of flu, but no temperature, nothing else. We have managed, and I'm sure from what of the Keshe Foundation outlets in 2026, you're going to get this. For the first time, we will release virus liquids for any viruses. It's developed, it's getting tested in different ways. So you take antibiotic for the headache. We introduce a new concept of medicine to the water medicine with licensing of what we call a specific technology which we have developed. As the guy said, do you know how many absenteeism will finish with this? We just give them this, go to work. It's very advanced. It's extremely effective. So we can download this down your OLN units, these computer systems, through the communication. So Wi-Fi for us is already dead because systems are already working. But the beauty with this system is that they create their own energy, their own power. They don't need to be powered from outside. So you never go back into the matter state that affects you, like the radars and the masks and everything else. Your body takes what it needs from the fields.
Well, I'll be looking forward to that one. It was about a month after we got Starlink that my daughter started these non-epileptic seizures. So, yeah, it's been a grim year, really. But
what do you see with it?
When she's about to have a seizure, she starts to almost talk like a drunk, and she gets sort of wobbly. And she sort of passes out into the seizure, wriggles on the floor, and then wakes up 30 seconds later and starts laughing.
Make an appointment with the wellness site immediately.
I wish I could, but my family are not. I can't get them on the Keshe train. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. No problem, but it can be done. I'll explain to you. Doesn't matter. You can do it at home yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I understand what you're talking about.
Last question. How are you going with lithium?
Why lithium?
Well, just having the plasma near lithium has caused some issues for a number of knowledge seekers, including myself. And I just wonder if you've got any closer to understanding why that might be the case. Lithium batteries.
Explain.
I bought a Ford Prius and left a health pen in the car that I'd made myself. I prefer to call them health pens rather than pain pens, by the way. Stay positive. But it didn't really seem to be having an effect on other people, so I didn't think there was much to it. But 6 months later, the battery stopped working and it had an error message that none of the best Prius experts could figure out where that error message was from. So the car was a write-off.
We've heard that before.
I know you have.
Never heard of. There is a test done, I think it's by Germany, and I can't remember exactly where, but shows that the electromagnetic field inside the new electric cars is so high that I think is safer to sit in the microwave, was the program talking about, than actually sit in the electric cars.
Yes, effects on the red corpuscles in the blood I've read the same thing.
Yeah. But Is it preventable? Can we block it? And it's a lot of other things needs to be understood. It's like that in England, I think it is. If you get the electric car fire, they don't touch it. Even the fire brigade doesn't go near it. So leave it to burn till it goes out, because it's so poisonous. This is a policy by the fire brigade. I think it's England, if I'm correct. I can't recall exactly. But the buses and the cars which go off the smoke and they have lithium batteries, they don't even bother to say or do anything with it. It's so toxic.
How is your fire protection R&D going? We're here in the Australian bush and it costs $4,000 a year to insure a house. So, of course, I can't afford that insurance. And I'm living on the edge as summer kicks into gear here.
There are certain ways you can do this. We've done a lot of work on this because we had the knowledge seekers in US years ago who wanted to use the technology for stopping the fires. We stopped, I can't remember why we stopped the research, but there's a way you can create a condition of CO2 or absorption of the oxygen into carbon. Doesn't need a liquid gas or anything. It just needs the creation of condition. And it can be done, but we left our research a few years ago. Maybe we can bring it back into another research structure next year or two. But it can do a condition creating continuous carbon as a plasma. And that, in the condition of the fire, will absorb the oxygen, which becomes like a live CO2, stagnating it. Nothing further. It's about 2, 3, 4 years ago we stopped this research. I can't remember the reason.
Last question. Last week you answered a question, I think, from Paolo, and it was about the future of cities. And I work in affordable housing, and today it was revealed that there's not one capital city. There were 96 major cities that were studied around the world, and not one of them has affordable housing anymore. The median price is not affordable. And I just wondered if you could build on some of these cities of the future you're talking about, because my big concern is that when there's all these technological advances that save people money, that it will capitalize into the price of land and lead to another huge land boom.
Not really at the moment. We are very much concentrated on 3 or 4 fields in past 2 years, 3 years, and we have to complete those. And maybe in 2026 we open new angles into research, but we are bringing the experts to do it than anything else.
Lovely.
Yeah, as I said, we used to put everything on the pan, or people who were around us were putting it on the pan to be there. We found out the less we talk, the more research and development we can do. So you don't hear us doing anything, a few bits here and there. And we bring people in to do the communication research, what it is, what needs to be done. We take the data and we carry on with the work in another angle and direction with the whole process. This is how it's become nowadays. We have too many people sticking their nose in our job, so As I said to a guy, we want people only so our failure, they think we don't do anything, but underneath we do more research than actually we're doing 2, 3, or 5 years ago. But nobody needs to know. If you know our failure, that's good as hell, or they can't do anything, but you don't see the success and what we're achieving underneath in the different direction. Talking about this, I explained this last week or the week before. If you have developed a technology with our technology, with a big Japan technology, or something with a combination of our technology with others, and you see it, we see if it works, if it is there, we are prepared to bring it in, develop it, and market it. And we still leave you in charge of it because you understood, you came with the thoughts, and the structure offers you partnership, that your technology become partner in success. But if you see we can use it in the other parts of the technology for the foundation, we still are interested too. We don't want to take technology and just walk away. We want you to be part of it because you understood it to develop. And as understood in the research centers, there are no doors closed. Everything is open for everybody who is in research to see what is going on, what they need to develop, and what the others are doing that it could be beneficial to. So if you run Keshe Foundation websites around the world, and you have your own website, you want to join the Keshe Foundation as part of a bigger structure, much more variety of products that all takes from one center, then write to us. We prefer if you have developed something next to your system which is interesting to us, or if you just have a workshop, or you have a website, or you have a shop you can sell, or you're selling products, you make it yourself, become a reseller for Keshe Foundation worldwide, in China or outside China, and you can take a lot of advantages on it. If you sell 10 items, maybe 1% of people who go to Keshe Foundation website from your side are there. So you have 99% clients or customers which are totally yours. Instead of having 10, 20 items and you get limited income, we can give you a spectrum of two huge number of products that you directly work within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. You take from the producers through the Keshe Foundation, and you increase your portfolio. But to get that, you have an agreement with the Keshe Foundation, and your website becomes part of our structure, but you run it. You can increase your income tenfold, 20-fold. They're not interested in that part. But if you have a product you developed and you sell it with license certification, we are interested to talk with you in partnership. A number of groups we talked to, a few are joining us in the past few weeks. And if you see you have other talents which can be used inside, we always discuss it. So instead of you selling 5 or 10 items, whatever you see on the Keshe Foundation website, plus all the associates of the companies which become there, you can put on your website. Instead of selling 10 items and halfway you sell out of God knows whatever, you have 1,000 items. And your customers, very few might ever come to Keshe Foundation or go to the others. So consider it. We have many people who like to become resellers. But if you want to become a reseller, but you produce a product which is unique and has a scientific understanding, not that have to be GANs technology only, it could be a mixture of GANs technology with others. We are interested to bring you in as a partnership, but you run it, we keep an eye on it, and we develop it in a bigger way. Any other question? Oh yeah, write that info@keshe.foundation. If you're just making ganses at home and selling, but you don't have a website you can still talk to us, but we don't know how to set that up, because if you have a company, it's very easy for us to take shares and monitor and everything else. Use the reseller program of the Keshe Foundation. You have to write it, and the criterion that you have to agree, you sign documents, and the Keshe Foundation website products becomes your product in your website. We have no problem with it. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of more hands up here from Antonio and Irmgard. Antonio, if you'd like to go ahead first, and then we'll get Irmgard in. Antonio, do you want to speak? You'll have to open your microphone. Okay, well, actually we have another Antonio. Maybe it's the same, but a different circuit here. Oops. Okay, there we go. Antonio number 2, are you Antonio number 1 as well?
Must be some other Antonio.
Okay, well, go ahead. We'll get Irmgard in third then.
I don't really have a question. I'll leave it to the next person. Thanks. Everything's okay here.
Okay, maybe I accidentally clicked on that. Let's go to Irmgard. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes, a couple of things relating to seizures. When they happen during sleep, is that also something that has something to do with manipulation?
It's usually when you produce too much energy.
Right, but you were saying that people intentionally or do this.
Some they do, some yes.
And if it happens during sleep, is that
it's unintentional. It happens, yeah, because you can create a lot of energy in your dream, because it's what we call action of your soul with the physicality. It can happen.
And second thing is metals causing this type of thing. When my dog first started having seizures, I talked to all kinds of alternative health people, and the first thing some of them said was he recently vaccinated. Because the vaccines contain all these heavy metals.
Could be. Quite possible. Could be, but because that has to be done by the scientific world.
Right, because they call it idiopathic seizures, and they blame it on heredity. But I think that if you have these pets and they get repeatedly vaccinated for no good reason, then that could be a big problem. And then over a period of time during their life, there comes a point at which it's too much.
Most probably, yes. But you got to understand that how they mix and how they base it back, or they call it in world of medicine, they create a bucket structure, which is supposed to be to hold everything together. But that bucket structure is a poison to the brain.
Right.
We've seen that in the reports in the American Senate regarding the
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, and so what we ended up doing is just doing titer tests to prove that the animal was still immune, because why add more when they're already immune? You know.
You make good money.
Yeah, right. I know.
That's all it is for. It's just them making more money, and this is what the world of medicine is at the moment, making more money. in a very short time, in 2026, towards the back end of 2026, we'll make a, hopefully, if everything goes okay, announcement about work of the Keshe Foundation on the wellness section, not on the health section. And then you can use our knowledge so people around the world can use it. Its connection, hopefully, if it goes with the hospital, that service goes from doctors in the hospitals, but Keshe Foundation technology used directly. We'll inform you when it comes to it. It's a process which is just on the table and it's getting talked to get sorted. But we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we call it a day?
Sure, if you like, yes.
Yes. No more questions.
Well, there's a number of questions in our Q&A, as usual. But,
Let's have a couple of them and call it a day.
okay, well, we had kind of another health-related issue with Trevor, who says, Mr. Kesh, the last day we're in the classroom in London, in the last few minutes with you, I came up to you and asked about my clinodactyly pinky fingers. I couldn't bring my hand together because of this. I asked what you thought, and I was hoping you would give me an answer on why they are like this. You told me to speak to Dr. Kern about how we could fix this. Would this affect my ability to use this technique for transmutation? And why would I be born with this condition? Is it emotional?
Speak to Dr. Kern. Make a time.
Good.
Info at Keshe.Foundation.
Gerhard had wondered if there was any soul pictures from the Saturday Mithra's birthday meeting.
I got there the last minute as Rick was saying goodbye. I think we're going to ask Rick. We had, we were monitoring. I can't remember the outcome. Those of us who were sitting in the background, did you make anything of the Mitra's Day on Saturday? Because I know they were online. See that on that section, then we'll see.
It's actually a very good turnout. There was at one point 107 people had shown up, and as Gerhard says, this was so heartful, difficult to describe. A lot of people were moved by the. A lot of it was the reading of the words of Mr. Kesh regarding Mithra and Mithra's daughter. And we were supposed to have a 10 minutes of silence at the end of the program. It was only an hour and a half long. The 10 minutes went to 15 and then the 20 minutes. And I'm wondering whether I should shut off the program. Went up to a full half hour of silence at the end of the show before I was made the announcement, and I was all ready to shut down within a few seconds, literally. And Mr. Kesh popped in and delivered a statement, and that was quite nice. Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You lot must have had a fantastic time. I just received the pictures of the birth of Mitra. And those of you who are familiar with our work, you will understand what this means. Let me just ask you. Just wait. Okay. We can share this video with 100% correctness. You see many times what we call these graphs with us. I have to go, you might hear a little bit of deep up, but just wait, please. I have to go here, go back. Okay, this is what you had with the soul of Mitra. Now the question is, was she there, the daughter of Mitra? This is the answer to those of you who were there. And I share it with you. It might give you an insight to what you've done. This is from a live video of that session. I've never seen it, I've just seen it now. And this, have a look. Just have a look. Usually with these systems, with these graphs, we get like this, and we get like this, and we come into the physical side. Interesting, very interesting. You lot must have a lot of fun that day. This is the graph. This is the physicality, the soul of physicality and the soul. You lot had a direct line of connection with the soul side. Very amazing. Never seen this before. And you see that drone next to it that you can see it. It must have been with you. And I hope you enjoyed the trip. What is interesting is you see on the physical side a lot of activities, but on the soul side you see very direct line. As far a distance from the line of the soul to the physicality is in a dimension of the energy only. The further back it goes on the right side. So you're all been connected, and you see this interesting point is this here. Any other question?
Perhaps we could hear from Mirnes before we wrap up. And we did have one question about Three Eye Atlas from Claudia. After that, perhaps if you could be so gracious.
No problem. Let's see what Magnus has to say.
Mirnes,
Hello. Hello, Sakesh. Hello, Rich. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for teaching us all these things. I have a question about when you said there is an ash and the soul goes from it and goes to that window where there are all these vapors, and he finds the place where it should be. And so when you talk about ash, and then we learn about how to create that with their hands for transmutation, and do this system of the soul going to that wall of and vapors is regarding the body without soul, or can we do?
That was an example. That's a description example of how you can imagine it to be. But I presume if you become good at it, you can choose the window, if you call it that way. If you become good at transmutation, you can choose exactly where you want to be. Needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of work to understand, to do.
And so it's not just the body, which is dead, which is ash, but the live body also can.
You get time, and you're a good reader. Read this in the original language. It gives you a lot of insight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The thing is, I love to transmute. What's the purpose? Why should I live here? I have a lot of things to do.
Nobody said go anywhere. Would you like, let me put it this way, would you like to get in a car, sit in the car for about, God knows, 1-2 hours, some of us more, some of us less, to go to an airport, to fly for another 2 hours again minimum in the airport till you get your plane, fly another 10 hours, and then God knows if nothing hits it, there's no birds, and the engine doesn't fall apart. Let's say you arrive safe, which a lot of us do, and then again another 1 or 2 hours, picking up your luggage, going through the customs, and then getting a taxi or a car back home. 14 hours flight, let's say, travel. What do you do within 14 seconds? That's the difference.
Yeah, but then it's a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, it's what you prefer and how you prefer. How you would like to do it and what's your fear. It's very, very, I don't know if I explained to you something. It happened to me in my business life. I think I've said it years ago. I used to work in Almaty. I had a beautiful office. I used to work out of Kazakhstan for years. Those who are in power, they said to me, can you go to this district? We would like you to go there and do the negotiation with the governor. And they appointed a guy to take us there. We usually fly everywhere. This guy said there's no flight. We have to go by train. We go by train. There was an entourage of a cook, a chef, bodyguards, waiters, and 4 or 5 of us. I don't know how many of us were on that train just to go to this district. I had the most beautiful sleep that night on the train. I thought I'll never go to sleep on the Russian train. We arrived. We started in the evening. We arrived next day in the morning. We went to the office. And when finished, I said to our office manager, to do this trip, I'm not going back on the train. There must be a plane. He said, yeah, there is a plane. I said, if there's a plane, why did you bring us here on this commotion? Oh, the guy appointed by the president to bring you here, he's scared of flying. And he organized you to come by train because he doesn't want to fly. I said, get me to the airport. I called the head office, we call it, the presidential pastor, said, I'm coming back with a plane. So there's one flight very soon. We get you on it. I watched 3 or 4 people being dragged out of the plane, literally on the back door, if you've been in the Russian planes. And we got in. They got the guy absolutely drunk out of his head to get him on the plane because he had to be back with us. So we took a drunken man back because he had a fear of flight. And when we got back to Almaty, he couldn't even remember he's been on the flight. The fear is the problem. The fear of what happened if I'm up there and something happens. It's our fear which is holding us back from everything. It's good to be having a little bit of fear, but if you get a phobia, then you're in a problem. I remember I walked into the office of the top guys, and I said, next time you send me somewhere to do the work for you, I decide. I don't want any of your people. And that became the norm, because we are not afraid of anything. And this is how fear is your biggest problem. Otherwise, you all can transmute. As I said, you can do it in 14 seconds, but you do it in 14 hours. Fear of what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I don't have trust on myself to go somewhere, not coming back. Go somewhere half.
You got that problem with you is you got a beautiful husband. That's why. That's the problem. Yeah. I think you love him too much to leave him behind. And yeah, that's the fear. No, it's just the fear. It's just the fear we have.
I think we should do little by little, maybe. Step by step to get confidence.
If we thought from the childhood, it becomes second nature. Because we are not done, we have that fear in the back of our head. That's the fear they put in us. Death is the ultimate, and when you die, everything is finished, and none of us want to be in that position.
Yes, thank you. Well, I don't fear death because I always say, people, if you do good, think good, talk good. If you do service and good wish and things like that, so you will have a better life after that. So it's really not something fearful for me to go
You
another way.
see, the fear has changed many things in the history. Fear of a lot of things. And fear, and we see that fear in the history of our religious books, and it's changed. We see the fear of Pharaoh, and end up with Moses. The fear of Darius and Kurosh, the father of them, of a man will take over his empire. He sent his own grandson to be killed. When you read the history of Iran, and the grandson became to overtake the grandfather, and we see the Mahd finish with the Sasanian, and we have the Haqameneshis and the rest of it. And the fear has changed history. But again, you read about Darius and Kurosh and their grandfather, and the rest of it. What we see the same repeat suddenly appears in Jewish books. in a way explaining fear. So I always questioned, we have a kingdom and you have the same thing in a different narrative, the same as Darius and Kurosh and Moses. Was any of the two real? But on the Iranian side, you have historical tablets. On the Jewish side, it's just all made up history. The same as Christianity was made up. If you read the history of the grandfather, the last king of Ma'at of Iran, you read the story of Jesus. I'm sorry, Moses. Same. And both explain fear of loss, fear of power, fear of life. One got all the male killed and the child ended up in a basket. In the Iranian side, the king gives his grandson to be killed, is given to a shepherd of the palace and is brought up, and then he becomes the king, what we know as Khamedi Shah, the beginning of a justice system. And the Jewish side becomes a destiny of murders. It's the same. None of the religious histories are true. Any of the three, Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, is just tampered to fit. If you ask, read, those days people used to travel in between Palestine and Iran and the rest of it. So when they wrote the Jewish books, Torah, it just changed and tampered the way it fits because it fit. It's the same as in next week is Mitra's birthday, 21st of December. My life at all the time. And we see the same thing with Jesus. Virgin mother, like Mitra, and the rest of it. Mitra was a virgin mother because the father was the creator, and the womb of the universe created her. And it's just adjustment. I don't believe any part of the history of the Moses ever existed, because it's too parallel, too close to historical papers we have from Hanisha. Just change of names and change of narrative. Because we have tablets. We have nothing from Moses' time. Bunch of lies and cheats. And fear. Where Koresh and Darius, even when they got to Babylon, he made sure their wife is kept safe. That the king came to submit, he said, it's yours, not mine. And then you read Moses, what we call the history of Torah is all killing and fears, because that was only so tied down the same bloodline of acceptance, not the blind line of being part of with Palestine. We know most of the Islamic, what you call it, what is put on is rewritten 2nd, 3rd century by Jews, and it's become that they found the place, they wrote the place according, so it's accepted by the place. We know it because in Iran we are the only nation which we have two qibla, two ways to pray. One, the original where Muhammad is in Jerusalem, and made up one by the Jews, which goes into what do you call it, other place. Why do you need two sides? And then you see a lot of things is out of fear. Jews couldn't handle there were too many Muslims. Out of fear of their own demise, they created a book for it. The true Muslim still prays towards Jerusalem.
Yes, of course, fear of religion or what they give us culturally as religion and these taboos and all that is one of the things which is hindering us from reaching the absolute power. And also, what I'm fearful, if you can say fear, is my own, what you call soul of physicality, my own, these emotions, which I say something and then I regret. That's what I'm fearful. That's what my goal is, to take care of it so that I can
You
achieve the
know,
true power.
you know, I believe deeply, I live deeply by the Russia, by Mitraism in the school of thoughts. Maybe it was I was brought up. Yeah, as I said maybe before, in the world of Zoroaster or Mitra, there is no punishment because what you've done wrong, you have to carry on your own back. So the only fear is you watching not to do wrong. There is no hell, there is no heaven, there is no punishment. Read the beautiful books of Avesta. And this fear came with religions because they wanted to control you. Jahannam, Behesht, and the rest of it, the heaven and the hell and the paradise and the rest of it. And that fear of brought to us from childhood becomes part of us, attachment to physicality which you cannot transmute. If you know you're responsible for what you do, and you don't leave it some other date to be sorted, you carry it. It's written in Avesta, it's in the Zoroastrian books. You can never wash your crimes off. You carry it on your back, and it has to become a lesson. And this is why Zoroastrians are very serene, they are very calculative, how they talk, what they do. Seeing a Zoroastrian losing temper is just seeing God having a heart attack, or sometimes used to say. Because they know that anger can do something that they cannot wipe out, they're going to carry it with them. And then in the other religion, they create a fear of punishment, so you always have that fear. But it shouldn't be a fear.
Thank you very much for your teachings. Very enriching, very eye-opening. And I thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
God bless.
Any other question?
One last question for you, perhaps. Wonder if you had any. Claudia had a question, whether you had more information about the Comet 3I Atlas and the 19th of December. But before you answer that, I had a question for Grok. Is it true that the Comet 3I Atlas will be in the same sky position late in December, like December 19th, 2025, as the Star of Bethlehem was 2,000 plus years ago? Because I was figuring, well, if the Star of Bethlehem signified the birth of Christ, perhaps this comet in the sky would signify the birth of Mithra. And
Very strange, it appears on the 19th, huh?
Grok thought for 2 full minutes on it and sussed it all out, and it says, yes, the claim appears to be true based on available astronomical data and historical interpretations of the Star of Bethlehem. The Comet 3I Atlas will reach its closest approach to Earth on December 19th. And on that date, the comet will be positioned in the constellation Leo, visible in the pre-dawn eastern sky and located near the bright star Regulus. which is Alpha Leonis, the heart of the lion. And it turns out that that's that one of the leading astronomical theories for the star of Bethlehem is also in appearing in the constellation Leo near Regulus. Regulus symbolized kingship in ancient astrology. And for that time in Star of Bethlehem, it's thought that it was a conjunction of Jupiter and Venus that came together and appeared as a single bright star. So just sort of by chance, it seems that this is 2,000 years later that this, we may not even see it visibly in the sky as far as the three-eye atlas goes, but it'll be in that constellation.
By chance, it's near 21st of December, the birth of Mitra. By chance. But the 20th, with the way they gap whatever, is the night of 21st, is the birth of Mitra, the longest night. And coincidentally, many coincidentalities. We'll have to wait and see what comes. The social media or world news is not much about 3i, and the social media is specialized for all people working around this thing, full of hypes about 19th. And we shall see what are the outcomes and how we'll see the effect in the next 10 to 20 years than just immediate. And we'll see. There's a lot to wait and see. But in so many ways, we see a biological intelligent structure which protects, defends, and reacts and responds. The latest test by different organizations in the bandwidth of information return of it is very clear. There is more to it than just a piece of rock. See next Sunday, and see how the humanity changes 20, 30 years later. Have a call it a day.
Definitely.
See you next week, hopefully. And we'll see what else we can add to the knowledge of the man and learn from the man. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you very much for today's meeting, which is the 620th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 11th, 2025. Before we go, I'd like to just read the little statement from the Universal Council sent to me by Lissy, and it is about, it's an invitation to the people of Earth. We, the Universal Council, invite the Kesh and Universal family present at the Earth to unifying at the soul level every time, every day at 9 p.m. Central European Time and every 3 hours, to give through our souls to all souls in existence, to elevate in the level of understanding the ethos of Mitra, universal love, living life as a peaceful being, respecting all life, and living equal. Okay, thank you for that. And just get my... And we see our next public teaching workshop. Let me get my calendar up, and that will be on Tuesday, coming up on the Tuesday the 16th, with the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace. And that program will start at 4 p.m. with members and support members of the Universal Council presenting that show. Okay, I think that's all for now. And thank you very much, everybody, for attending today's 620th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. We'll see you next time around, and hopefully in a public teaching. We'll go out with our usual manner with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, and see you next time.